All right, welcome back. So we've already covered the basic first aid for your Wi-Fi, but today we're going way deeper. We're going to roll up our sleeves and get into the advanced configuration settings that can seriously take your network from just struggling along to absolutely soaring. Now, before we really dive in, just so you know, this is part 9 of our 10-part tutorial all about radio frequency interference. We're covering Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and all those IoT devices that use the 2.4 and 5.8 gigahertz bands. This series is brought to you by RFI Detectives, which is part of the Virtualization Options LLC family. Okay, let's get started by popping the hood on your network. We're going to explore some really powerful and honestly often overlooked settings that can make a massive difference in how everything performs. First up, let's talk about something called the beacon interval. You can think of this as your network's heartbeat. It's this tiny little signal that your access point, or your AP, sends out over and over and over again, just to say, hey, I'm here. The default is usually set to 100 milliseconds, and it's how all your devices find the network and stay perfectly in sync. But here's where it gets interesting, because there's a trade-off. If you make that interval shorter, devices connect and roam faster, which sounds great, right? But it also creates a lot more network chatter, more overhead, which leaves less actual airtime for your data. On the flip side, a longer interval quiets things down, but it can make roaming between access points feel a bit sluggish. For a really crowded environment like a busy office, just tweaking this one setting can be an absolute game changer for cutting down on congestion. So tuning the network itself is just one piece of the puzzle. Now let's look at the other side of the equation, the devices themselves. Because let's be honest, a network is only as good as the clients connected to it. And this gets right to the heart of the problem we all face. The 2.4 gigahertz band is, well, it's like a congested highway during rush hour. Total gridlock. So the best thing you can do is guide your high-performance vehicles, your laptops, your streaming devices, your phones, over to the wide-open express lane, the 5 gigahertz band. Sometimes just encouraging good behavior isn't quite enough. You have to be a little more proactive and, well, get rid of the bad neighbors. I'm talking about those devices that are known troublemakers on that crowded 2.4 gigahertz highway. So the key here is to make some really smart replacements. Are you still using an old 2.4 gigahertz cordless phone? You got to swap it for a DECT 6.0 model. Those operate on their own 1.9 gigahertz frequency, so they completely avoid the conflict. Got some old Bluetooth gadgets? Upgrading to Bluetooth 5 or newer gives you much better features for coexisting peacefully. Even your smart home devices can be moved over to things like Zigbee 3.0, which can be set up to use channels that don't step on your Wi-Fi's toes at all. Okay, so all this tweaking and tuning sounds great in theory, but does it actually make a difference in the real world? Oh, you bet it does. Let's look at a case study that proves it, and in a really big way. So in this situation, a network admin was dealing with just a nightmare of interference. And they didn't just put a Band-Aid on it, they launched a full-scale assault. They made 5 gigahertz the primary default band. They strategically shut down 2.4 gigahertz on some of the access points, and they used a feature called band steering to basically herd any capable devices over to that faster, cleaner 5 gigahertz frequency. And the result of all that work? A staggering 60% boost in median throughputs. And that's not just some number on a screen. For the users, that's the real-world difference between a constantly buffering video and a smooth, seamless stream. Huge! And it wasn't just about speed, either. The overall health of the network got a major shot in the arm. The retry rate, which is basically how often the network has to resend data because of errors and interference, it plummeted from 35% all the way down to 22%. That 13-point drop means there was way less wasted effort and a much more stable, efficient network for everybody. Okay, we've gone through the theory, we've seen the incredible results, so now let's pull all of this together into a clear, actionable checklist that you can use to start tackling interference on your own network. Here it is, your complete mitigation process in 5 steps. 1. Optimize your channel assignments. 2. Adjust your transmit power down to the minimum effective level you need. 3. Configure those advanced features we've been talking about like band steering and beacon intervals. 4, if you absolutely have to, make some physical changes, like moving an AP or that pesky interference source. And 5, and this is the one everybody forgets, validate your work. Measure your performance before and after to actually prove that your changes made a real difference. So, you've done it. Your network is now a finely tuned machine. But here's the thing about the world of wireless. The landscape is always changing. You solved today's problems, but what new challenges are just waiting around the corner? We're going to explore exactly that in our next and final installment. Thanks for watching.